Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for attending today's webinar, Solving Government Challenges with Esri Technologies, as part of the Spatial IQ for MapGeo educational webinars. As many of you know, we've been hosting these webinars on topics that we feel are of interest to local governments with the aim of increasing your spatial IQ. We have some really interesting webinars planned for the year ahead, but if you have any topics that you'd like us to cover, please reach out and let us know. Today, we're going to be having a conversation about how Appgeo has applied Esri technologies to solve problems for some of our local government clients. Esri is one of the leading providers of geospatial technology and is consistently releasing new tools and solutions, many of which we use at Appgeo in our daily work to support all of you. In this webinar, your Spatial IQ from Appgeo team will share some examples of how they have applied these diverse and powerful technologies. I'm sure most of you are familiar with some of us by now, but let's do a quick introduction of today's presenters. I'm Rebecca Talamini, a project manager here at Appgeo. I'm a member of the Spatial IQ from Appgeo team. I've been here for almost 6 years now, and I primarily work with local government clients in Connecticut and Rhode Island, as well as Massachusetts. And then I also work on some larger projects that are outside of New England. I will let Peter and Nate both introduce themselves. Peter, you want to go first?
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Peter Lemak. I'm a GIS consultant at Appgeo, and I've been here for about 8 years now. I work with a range of clients from local municipalities to larger government organizations at the state and federal level, and I also do some work with some commercial clients as well. I'm excited to be here today and share with you some of my local government experiences and projects where we have implemented Esri technologies.
And I'm Nate King. I'm a GIS analyst here at Appgeo, and I've been with the company for just shy of 2 years. I work on all sorts of different projects, ranging from utility data development at the local level to more large-scale data development projects and data conversion projects for universities and state governments. I work with a ton of different GIS tools in my job duties, and it's especially those offered by Esri. So I'm happy to be helping share them with you today.
Also behind the scenes, we have Aaron Doucette, our Appgeo webinar guru. So if we have any technical difficulties, he will be there to help us out. So thanks, Aaron. All right, so this is a brief overview of what we'll be covering today during this presentation. First, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Spatial IQ for Appgeo offerings, and then we'll dive into the available Esri technologies and tools and discuss how some of our clients and your peers have leveraged these tools to overcome their challenges. Before we get started, I'd like to review some of our webinar logistics. You are currently all in listen-only mode. And if you have any questions during the presentation, there is a Q&A box in the Zoom control panel on your screen. We will monitor those questions as we go through the presentation, and we will answer all of the questions at the end. If there's anything that we're not able to answer, we will send you a follow-up email to get you the answer that you need. And lastly, today's webinar is being recorded. We will show the webinar recording along with the slide deck to you for review, as well as you are able to share it to your colleagues. So first, a quick little refresher on the Spatial IQ for Appgeo program. Spatial IQ is a managed service program designed to help you make your and get the most out of your Appgeo subscription. Throughout the year, we help you to strategize to advance your GIS capabilities, expand your use and benefits, help you to get exclusive buy-in, and we can also simply just get work done for you. We encourage you to push the limits of your Appgeo to increase the capabilities of your staff, empower your staff, and to play a role in your municipality's GIS program, and to engage with and share information with the public. The Spatial IQ program helps you keep your foundational data, geospatial data up to date. These are your parcels and your zoning layers. And then depending on the tier of the Spatial IQ program that you're on, it also provides you with as-needed help desk support, access to your GIS files through our easy sharing with the downloadable data feature on Appgeo. We also annually add an overlay theme to your Appgeo site, and then often these are interesting analyses that we find interesting and that could be helpful to your local governments. We also help to plan strategically to grow and maintain your GIS program so you see your return on your investment. And of course, these educational webinars are also included in that. So now let's get to the good stuff. Peter, can you give us an overview on who Esri actually is?
Sure thing. So Esri is a software company, and they build Arcgis, what is seen by many as one of the world's most powerful mapping and spatial analytical tools on the market. They provide a diverse and robust tools that includes client software, so like ArcGIS Desktop, Arc Pro, as well as mobile applications, and we'll talk about some of those today. Server software, ArcGIS Server, Portal, and then software as a solutions tool like ArcGIS Online. Now, ArcGIS is used by many to support and improve upon local government operations. This is because the information that you're most interested in is spatial. Everything that is governed and managed boils down to a single place or location. So for instance, a municipality is geographically divided into parcels or voting districts, or even stormwater catchment areas. And ArcGIS provides us a suite of tools that we can use for our clients to help support make maps, perform data analysis, collect new and existing data, and then create any compelling visualizations and mapping products that you might need. And ArcGIS to me is really the first step in expanding your spatial abilities with your GIS program.
Absolutely. And at AppGeo, we use a variety of geospatial tools, and ArcGIS is one of the most common ones that we used on all of our local government projects because of its versatile and powerful tools that it offers. Can you talk some about some of the things that we do for our clients using ArcGIS?
Yeah, sure. So with ArcGIS, we can help our clients expand their spatial abilities. We like to take your data to the next level. So for most of us, the GIS work that we do, it really circles around, creating and maintaining data and making maps. But it doesn't have to stop there because there's so much that ArcGIS can offer. And what we'll present throughout this presentation are additional applications and tools that we can help set up that can empower your colleagues. And these tools, they can help, allow your staff and your colleagues to participate in your GIS program. They can ask questions and solve problems or share information with the public to answer the public's questions and keep them informed about what's going on in their community. Now, expanding your spatial abilities will provide you the means to equip your team with advanced data collection tools. It will help you provide department heads and decision makers with key data visualizations and analytical outputs that can support their decision-making process. And last but not least, you can really convey your story. You can tell your story to the public and inform them about their community.
And Peter, I know that we've also used ArcGIS Online in the past to help support our clients. Can you give a little bit more information on that Esri resource?
Sure. So, aside from building some core geospatial data sets, that's really like the first thing that we do, maintaining parcels, building footprints, addresses, maybe some utility networks. The next place to turn would be to ArcGIS Online. And for those who are unfamiliar with ArcGIS Online, it's a web-based and cloud-based platform that enables you to publish, share, and create geospatial content on the web. Now, ArcGIS Online allows users to create those web maps. We can create applications. And once those applications and maps are created, we can help you to really work with group sharing permissions. So you can provide access to either the public or internal resources only. Now, the really good thing about ArcGIS Online, it's very low cost. It also removes the need for IT infrastructure and IT support. You don't need servers or or a technical stack to really run ArcGIS Online. All of that is done by Esri. They manage the infrastructure, they manage the hosting. All you need to do is publish your data and start working. So ArcGIS Online is really the gateway to kind of growing those spatial abilities in your GIS program. Now, Rebecca, it looks like there are a bunch of people on the call today, and I know that we were talking about potentially doing a couple polls. I'd like to see if we could do a poll to see if anyone on the call is actually using ArcGIS Online right now.
Yeah, of course. Let me get this poll started. All right, I'm going to launch this poll. Everybody should see a pop-up on their screen with the question, are you currently using ArcGIS Online? And then yes, no, or if you're unsure. I'll give people a couple minutes, couple seconds here to reply, and we can take a look at the results together. All right, let's end the poll and share some results. So you all should be able to see the results. we're almost kind of split down the middle of yes, no, and then a little bit of unsure's in there. So from there, let's, now that we see that some of our attendees may be using it or questionable if they're using it or not, let's give them some examples and workflows on how they can leverage Arcgis Online for their communities.
All right. So what you're seeing here is just like a very basic workflow that we've actually, implemented for a couple of our clients, where we've inserted Arcgis Online right into the center of a process. So what we've done is, for some of our clients, we've taken local data, data stored in file geodatabases, maybe shape files, and we've published them up to Arcgis Online where we store the data. Once the data is in Arcgis Online, we can then go and help you create, web maps. And these web maps are the foundations for additional applications, such as like Survey 123 or Collector. Those are applications that we're going to talk about today. But really, once the data is in Arcgis Online, once the maps are created, we can then help you provide those applications to your field crews. They can take them out, they can collect data in the field, they can do inspections, and they can capture information that they see. Now, another thing, once you create the web maps in Arcgis Online, you can also integrate with third parties. Now, Rebecca, I know you've done that with a couple of clients. Can you give a little insight into that?
Yeah, sure. The town of West Hartford, Connecticut and Essex, Connecticut, both use Dude Solutions as part of their workflows in town to see their assets and what they have, as well as doing a couple other things with the functionality. So basically what we do is we host that data on their Arcgis Online account, create a web map for them, and the Dude Solutions basically takes that URL that the web map is on and pushes it to the Dude Solutions application for the town to use. So fun fact, if you didn't know, if you have an Esri desktop license, you already have Arcgis Online and you may have not even known that. So Peter, for clients who already have an Arcgis Online account, but are not yet utilizing the Arcgis Online functionalities, where's a good place for them to start?
Well, a good place to start, once you've created your data, is really publishing the data up to Arcgis Online and then using that data to create web maps. Now, web maps are collections of stylized and configured layers. And these web maps can provide users the ability to view the data on the web or even edit the data within Arcgis Online. For some of our clients, they do have staff who use desktop tools like ArcGIS Pro. So if you build web maps or publish data to Arcgis Online, they can then consume that data and edit and manipulate it within ArcPro. For most of us, just doing the work in Arcgis Online is enough. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is just kind of a quick video of how you would go about, preparing a web map. You can add data to a web map that you've published. Once you've done that, you can change the imagery, change the background. You can rename the layers so that they're accessible to all users. And you can really start to style the labels and the legends and the way that information is displayed. Now in this next slide, where we go ahead and configure our content, it's all about what you're trying to do with the web maps. So remember, some of these web maps can allow you to connect to mobile data collection applications. So depending on the use of the app and your operational needs, you can toggle on and off editing. You can even decide what attribute fields you want to make available for display. And you can also manage the what fields you want people to edit. So if you don't want people to edit a really special field, you can either turn that off completely or you can just eliminate it from their display. And again, when you configure these web apps, it's all about what you're trying to do, what your requirements are.
So Peter, I know that there are a bunch of different Esri applications to pull from that pull data from Arcgis Online, but can you give us a brief overview of some of the applications that we'll be diving into today?
Sure. So we're going to focus on 6 applications. All of these apps at some time or another, we have helped our clients implement So when we think about these 6 apps, we're really going to break them into 2 different types. The first type are apps that can be used to collect data in the field. So that could be field maps or collector or survey 123. The second grouping of apps, those are apps that are really good for sharing your information, displaying visualizations, or really telling your story about a project you've done. And what we'll talk about are those 3 apps, which are Story Maps, Hub, and Dashboards. So before we really dive into some of these applications and kind of show you what we've done for our clients, we do have another poll that would be good to run to see if anyone has used any of these, or if anyone is interested in using some of them.
Sure. Let's get this next poll started. All right, so just like the first one, the poll should have popped up on your screen. We have your question of, have you used any of these apps? Or as Peter mentioned too, if you're interested in using any of these apps, we would definitely be interested in hearing that as well. Give people a couple more seconds to get their reply in there. All right, let's end the poll and take a look at some of the results. So it looks like, if not everybody that has replied is using collector app or field maps, have dabbled in Survey 123 and dashboards. Then it looks like a couple of people have looked into the story maps. So that's great to hear. Peter, for those who haven't started using any of these apps, let's take a look at some of the apps that people can use for data collection that you had mentioned.
All right, so why don't we start with Collector, because that's actually my favorite app. So for those who aren't using Collector, Collector is a mobile data collection application that really focuses on spatial data collection, points, lines, polygons. You can edit related tables, and you can also use the app to collect photos of the assets that you might see in the field. So this app is really, really powerful when it comes to providing it to field crews to incorporate into any workflows like, construction or inspection or maintenance efforts. If someone's installing something or removing an asset, if they have Collector, they can make that update on the fly. So we have gone ahead, we've built and implemented Collector apps for a bunch of clients, most notably for the town of North Haven, Connecticut. They had a project where they needed to go out and confirm condo address information. So we built a Collector app using Arcgis Online. They went out into the field. They either reviewed the condo addresses, they captured missing data, and they confirmed that the addresses that they currently had in their database was correct. Now, for the city of Gloucester, we tested the Collector functionality to see if we could use it to inspect hydrants and capture key attribution. We were actually successful in this project where we went and were able to confirm the existence of hydrants, capture hydrants that we didn't currently have in our database that were recently installed, and then also remove hydrants that have been taken out of commission or abandoned. Now, for other communities, what's really notable about Collector is that we use this mobile collection tool, this digital technology, to replace paper inspection and maintenance reports. In the past, when we would go out in the field, we would capture data with pen and paper. We'd have to come back into the office and then put that into our ArcGIS software and save that data. But with Collector, we're able to replace that workflow with something that's a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more efficient. So, using Collector to capture inspection and maintenance reports for catch basins and manholes is a really, it's a good use case of what that tool can do. Now, for those who don't know, Esri is releasing or has released a new application called Field Maps. And Field Maps is really the next generation mobile data collection tool. Collector functionality, as well as some of the other mobile collection apps that we're not going to get into today, are being rolled into Field Maps and will eventually go away. So if you have any Collector apps, now might be a good time to start considering transitioning to field maps. If you're interested in Collector and haven't really started building anything, it might be a good idea to just go right into field maps and start building applications there. You know, that transition, the initial build out, those are both things that the Spatial IQ team can help you with.
Absolutely. And there's also another data collection tool that we often implement for some of our other clients, which is Survey 123. Nate, can you tell us a little bit more about that solution and how we've implemented that for some other clients?
Absolutely. So Survey 123 is a simple and very user-friendly form-based alternative to ArcGIS Collector. And when I say form-based, what I really mean is that the end user layout for Survey 123 takes more of the appearance of a survey style form or questionnaire, as opposed to the more map-centric layout of ArcGIS Collector. So with this application, the main focus is collecting new tabular information, but it does also have a spatial component that optionally allows survey responses to be geotagged. Now, this can be done either automatically or by entering a street address. Surveys can be filled out on any number of devices, normal desktop computers or mobile devices like phones and tablets. The setup of this application is highly configurable, so you can embed guidance and sort of more background information directly in the forms to help people who are responding to it. And you can make questions take the form of open response, multiple choice, and so on. You can also make it so questions are requiring a response. You can make questions autofill answers based on previous responses and much more. So there's really no limit to how much you can configure out this application to make it easier to respond to. One great local government use case for Survey 123 is providing a mechanism for residents to report issues that they notice around their community. So for example, a resident could have noticed a pothole in their neighborhood that they want to report to the town. And to do this, they can open up a Survey 123 form that was provided to them by their town and describe the issue accordingly by answering the survey questions. They can drop a location pin where they've noticed the issue, or like I said before, they can just type in a street address where that location is, where that issue is present. Once they've filled out the questions, they could even attach a photo of the issue and then submit that response to the town DPW. The DPW can in turn review the survey results in either a data table or a web map and respond to that issue accordingly. There's also a lot of great public health applications for Survey 123. So we've seen people set up Survey 123 forms for daily health screening questionnaires relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. What you see on this slide here, though, is a Survey 123 that we set up for the state of North Dakota. And this was in support of a statewide parcels project that we're working on with that state. Some brief background is we're collecting parcel data sets from each of the counties in North Dakota and standardizing them into a single statewide data set. And to support this effort, we had to inventory dozens of different data sets and get a sense of their format, how often they would be updated, and so forth. And to solicit that information, we set up a Survey 123 form. You can see a few of the questions included in that form in the screenshot in the slide, and there was also a lot more information. So this helped us get information, like I said, about the format of the data, how often it's updated, who maintains it, is it done in-house or by a vendor, and how often that data can be resubmitted to the state. All this collected information was really helpful for us in terms of inventorying these dozens of different data sets we received from these counties as part of the project.
Awesome, thanks, Nate. So Collector and Survey 123 have many use cases to support government operations. Now that the data has been collected, we want to be able to display, analyze, and share the data, whether it's internal or available to the public. Can you remind me which Esri platform can provide this functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. So Esri Dashboards are a perfect answer to your question. Dashboards are a really convenient way to communicate complex information with maps, web maps like Peter talked about, as well as supporting charts and graphs. And we'll show you a few examples of dashboards we've built recently in the next few slides. But to start, I'd like to turn your attention to the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard that you see on the top right of the slide. This is how, most of the general public, if they're familiar with dashboards, would have been introduced to it. This has been really great for helping people sort of track where things stand with the pandemic and get the information they need to know what's going on with it. Similarly, local governments have built their own versions of a COVID-19 dashboard specific to their own communities, but there's many, many more applications for local governments as well. Dashboards have been created for tracking capital improvement projects, summarizing demographic information, and much more. There's really no limit to what you can apply this technology to. Really what it comes back to, though, is you need to have the right data, and that data needs to be up to date and accurate for the dashboard to be effective. And to that end, dashboards can display live data. So that would mean that as the source data powering the visualization is the visualizations in the dashboard are updated, so is what's shown in the dashboard itself. The source of these updates could be made in normal desktop GIS applications like Pro, or the updates in the mobile tools we've talked about today, like Collector and Survey 123. On that point, the other dashboard you see in the screen in the foreground is showing the response of that Survey 123 form that I described previously for the state of North Dakota. So this sort of gives us like a high level look at the responses the counties provided us. We have information about the parcel data format. We have a chart showing the total number of county responses, sort of a comparison of who performs the data maintenance. Is it done in-house or by a vendor? As well as a map look at the counties that responded to the survey. So another dashboard we've recently built is for the town of Acton, Mass. And Kristen, if you're on the call, thank you for providing us with the opportunity to do this. So a little background, Acton has used accident data in the past to analyze the history of crashes around town. And doing this analysis allows them to answer questions like which intersections are the most dangerous that maybe need to be addressed? Which month do most of the accidents take place? How many total accidents are there? And so forth. Historically, we did this work using more conventional static maps and tables and graphs generated from Excel, as you can see on the slide here. But this year, when we updated the analysis, we were tasked with making those results available in an interactive dashboard. So here is that dashboard. This is basically what you saw in that last slide recreated in an interactive Esri dashboard. And by doing this, we were able to make all this information available at a quick glance in a way that town decision makers could actually interact with the map to more compellingly get the answers they need to their questions. This dashboard is internal, so only available to town staff who has access, but it can be configured to be made available to the public if as desired. So as you can see, this dashboard, you can click on items within the map extent and view the other attributes about the features that are shown in the map. And as you zoom in and out from the map, you can see that those charts and graphs that are reading the same data as the map are updated to only show what's visible in the map extent. Right there, you saw the user is able to select different filters to filter the information displayed. So they could select a filter to only show accidents that happened during a given month. And all of this is really interactive, and it provides a really powerful tool for understanding the accident trends around the town. And in turn, this helps the town make informed decisions on how to reduce these types of events.
Awesome, thanks, Nate. Dashboards are definitely a great way to present collected and live data to either internal or public. Peter, another way that the data can be shared and viewed is using a story map using the story map application. I know story maps are a great way to tell a story. I know that sounds corny, but that's what it does about a project. So can you tell us a little bit more about the story map that we created for Shrewsbury, Massachusetts?
Sure thing. So like you said, story maps are a great way to make information available to the community in a slightly different format than a dashboard. So for those who don't know, AppGeo has worked on several school redistricting projects where community engagement is required. So in the past, to get some feedback from the community, we have done a combination of large format maps that families can look at during forums. But now, due to the pandemic, with everything virtual, we needed something a little bit more digital and dynamic that could just be shared remotely. And story maps seem like the ideal solution to get this information out to the parents. And because of that, we implemented story maps for the Shrewsbury Schools Redistricting project. Now, the way that these projects work is that we build multiple scenarios for the community to then evaluate based on a variety of criteria, such as demographics, school capacity, and then the locations of the schools. And it's typically the school committee that will then go ahead and vote and approve the scenario. But we do need community engagement and feedback from the parents to help drive that decision-making process and help make the data better. So the story map worked really well because we could pair a narrative and descriptive information about the process and about the scenarios with dynamic maps that can be explored with zoom and pan tools. And the maps that we insert into the story maps, like I said earlier, they're driven by the web maps that we published and created in Arcgis Online. Now, on the top bar of the web maps, you can see that there's also an index, which allows you to jump between different scenarios and different topics, so you can get more information and really dive deep into the information we're presenting. And this worked really, really well because it allows people to take the time to understand what's going on, to sit down and really comb through and look at the data and the information we're presenting. And because of this, some of the parents were able to ask really good questions. They were able to identify some issues in the data and be able to provide us that feedback so that we can make data updates and then make the data better for the project as a whole. Now, story maps are great for many projects, especially when you want to promote a project within your community where there's a story to tell and you can pair it with a lot of visuals. So this might be like a trail project or a development project undertaken in the town where you want visibility on the activities and you want to keep the community engaged and informed of what's going on. Now, on the top of this page, where I think we're going to share out this information, but we did include a link where you can go and look at other use cases of story maps that people have built.
Great, thanks, Peter. Definitely a great example of how story maps can really tell a story and help the end users get to a result that everybody can be happy with and have input on. So Nate, which Esri application would I want to use to make my web maps, my dashboard, my story map easily accessible in a website that provides detailed information about the context and the sources that were used for a project?
I would say ArcGIS Hub is the perfect answer to your question. So while things like dashboards are a great way to display your data in a high level that you're collecting as a part of a project or initiative, and story maps are a great way to tell your story in a more article format or narrative-based format, you may want to present this information in a more standard website sort of way that's more easily accessible and includes additional context and other resources like downloadable dataset repositories and links to other web pages. And this is where Hub comes in. So Hub is a simple website building platform, and it supports embedding spatial information like the applications we've shown you today directly within the site. They're very simple to configure. You can customize the layout and colors as much as you'd like. You can choose the placement of items within your page and so on. And as you can see there, you can even embed your own MapGeo site within an Esri Hub site. Dashboards are also very commonly used as sort of a data portal landing page to enable viewers to access and download spatial data sets. With the example you see on screen, this is continuing on with that State of North Dakota project. This site displays all sorts of information relating to the background and current status of the project. It includes the dashboard that I presented earlier, and it also includes the Hub site that the state has, the MapGeo site that the state has as a part of the project, as well as links to webinar recordings, slide decks, and other important resources that helps them stay up to date on where the project stands. This dashboard has no access constraints because it's really intended as sort of a informational page for the general public and project stakeholders. But as with all the other things we've showcased today, you can configure a hub site to be internally facing only if its contents aren't intended for public consumption.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing these great examples that we've done for some of our clients already. And hopefully now that these attendees for today will see what else we've done. Maybe it'll spark some more ideas for them, and we can help them implement some of these as well. Now, I know that was a lot of information for those who aren't as familiar with Esri. So Peter, can you give us a brief summary of the apps that we talked about today, and tell some folks how they can get started implementing these for some of their communities?
Yeah, sure. All right, so as we presented, there are many tools available that will allow you to expand your spatial capabilities, empower your staff, inform the public, and help you solve problems and overcome challenges. So where can we help? Well, we can help you manage your Arcgis Online site, setting user permissions, help you publish data, and then help you build those core web maps that are needed for all the other web applications. We can help you set up collector apps for hydrant inspections and catch basin cleanout reports. We can also do those things in Survey 123. If you need to elevate your data to a decision maker level or a city official level, we can work with you to configure dashboards to be able to visualize and analyze your data in meaningful ways, to be able to provide the insights required to make those significant municipal decisions. If you're interested in getting information out to the public, we can help you create story maps to present that information on city development projects or any specific project that you're currently working on that you want the community to then engage with. And then finally, the hub site is really a great way to pull all of your information together, tell a narrative and description about your projects, share your data, and really create a one-stop shop for your dashboards and your story maps and even some of your other web maps and your downloadable content. So as part of the Spatial IQ for MapGeo program, we're always here to help you in defining those business use cases that will help drive your projects. We'll help you select the best tools and help you implement and configure the solutions. And of course, once they're built, we can work with you to train your staff so that they know how to use them and they can then bring them into their existing operational workflows. So on behalf of Rebecca, Nate, and myself, we'd like to thank you for your time today. And Rebecca, I think we can turn it over for you for some questions, if there are any.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, it looks like we do have a couple of questions. And if anybody else has any questions, feel free to put them into that Q&A box on your control panel, and we'll get those answered as well. So let's get to the first question here. If we are not currently an Esri customer, how do we become one? And what might the cost be for that? Well, I'll kind of give a quick answer to part of this. Like I had mentioned before, that if you currently have an Esri desktop license, so ArcGIS, ArcMap, or ArcPro, you currently already have an Arcgis Online account. And if you don't know how to get into that account, just contact your Esri rep and they can help you get all of that configured for Arcgis Online. Peter, is there anything that I didn't include in that answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and if also you're interested in like Esri tools, if you want to start going into that, into that world and being able to provide those tools to your staff, you can come to us. We can talk you through, understand your requirements, and try to help direct you in one direction or the other. And with that information, you could then reach out to local Esri reps to kind of start that conversation about licensing.
And we can help you get in contact with those reps as well. So just let us know if you have any questions or if you'd like to dive into the Arcgis Online. The second question that we have, Nate, can you explain to us what is the difference between a hub and a story map? They look very similar, but can you just kind of tell us what their true roles are?
Yeah, well, I would bring it back to the comparison where A story map is almost more of an article or a narrative, whereas a hub site is more equivalent to a standard web page. So story map is a great way to explain the background and sort of the conclusion of a given project. But if you want to actually have a website that includes a link to that story map, as well as other resources like data repositories and more data visualizations, that's more of in the hub site territory. So really the hub site is like the top level that redirects you to these other more specific resources, such as a story map or a dashboard or data set repositories.
Awesome. It looks like those are currently the only questions. Oh, we have one more that just popped in. How do I input disruptions into MapGeo by myself without sending to AppGeo? So that sounds like it's a MapGeo question, and that would be, let me try to get my terms correct, either the console or the dashboard through MapGeo. So in that case, I'm not sure who this is, but just contact your project manager, and we can help you get the answer to that question. Not seeing any more come in. So again, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. We will be sending out a copy of the recording along with the slide deck, probably sometime early next week. And also at the bottom of the slide today, we do have a link to our Spatial IQ user group webpage, which has all of our past recordings on there from our webinars. So definitely check that out if there is a webinar that you've missed previously that we've done. So I want to thank you again and have a great rest of your day. And if there's anything that you'd like to talk about more, certainly just send us an email. The Spatial IQ support email is on the screen. Send us an email and we will get all of your questions answered and help you move and grow your GIS. So thank you very much, everybody.